Kia ora and welcome to another episode of Between Stitches. Today I am joined by Andrina Eyles from Alchemists Den. We met a few months back when I did the Silent Skies workshop run by Liz Mitchell at the Mangere Community Centre.
Yeah.
And I got to learn how to peg loom. So I'll quickly waft in front of your faces the cool peggy square tile that I made under Andrina's expert direction. So this is my fibre art that I managed to put onto a giant DPN, which is now my artwork. But I'd like to introduce you to Andrina, and if she can tell you a little bit more about her. Welcome, Andrina.
Hey, thank you, Julie. Well, what a blessing to actually have met you. Bright, shiny little button that you are. Full of life and energy and lots of fun. All hats off to Liz for putting on the Silent Skies. She's a fantastic advocate for wool in New Zealand. And what an interesting lady that she is in herself, and very, very crafty. Throughout my life, I've done quite a bit of craft, and it's followed me around in my travels around New Zealand. And that extends from crafting out of copper, sort of like large art pieces, and steel, a few little wooden pieces, and these days a lot of woolen craft. I've also done a lot of textile working with flax and bits and pieces like that. Never really called myself an artist, though. I'm a creator.
I know that feeling. It's when what label do you really sort of feel comfortable wearing, but often it's much more than what we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah, and I see myself as a culmination of all the skill sets that I've learned in my lifetime, and that's who I am and what makes me tick and what makes me feel like getting up in the morning and doing stuff. And I think during life we can actually put ourselves into a box, and we kind of feel really disillusioned with life and all of those kinds of things. But when we actually embrace every part of us, we can, that life force comes back and we get interested in learning new things and doing new things. And it was when maybe a year and a half ago, I had a couple of concussions over the years, and they impacted on my ability to be able to sustain my own energy and to be able to, I'm not employable to anybody else because my attention span is so small. And so I needed to look for something else to do. And Jill Farrell, who Mum and I met many years ago in Christchurch, she was living up here, or she is living up here in Auckland. And she runs a whole lot of craft groups all around sort of west, sort of like city west Auckland. And Mum came up to live with me from Nelson, and she got involved in Jill's groups. And then I was sort of like looking for something else to do, and Jill said to me, "Oh, do you want to have a look at this wool? Do you want to use this wool for something?" And I looked at it and I went, "Oh, that's a bit yuck." and it just happens, when you're introduced to something new, it's like the informed field that's around you, around us every day, starts dropping things into your vision, like inside here. And all of a sudden I was seeing YouTube videos on peg looming and how to use this really ancient, primitive, very, very easy technology. And so I went, oh, wow, I can make those looms, and I've got plenty of access to yarns that I can use for warping and things like that. And so I got in the shed and I started making myself a loom, and I started learning how to weave. When I was watching the videos, it was very, very, the mind can be really concrete at times. And it's like, if you've got a really complicated pattern and you go, oh, how do I do that? And you're busy doing it, and you're thinking it's never going to turn out right. How on earth what's this going to look like? Anyway, I did my first stack on my loom, and I went, okay, this is either going to be a major success or a big fail. And so I checked everything and made sure I tied everything off and that everything was all connected, and started pulling up the pegs and pushing my weft down onto the wall. And it was like, oh my goodness, how can this be so simple? How can I be such a klutz? You know, it's like, it was hilarious. And so it's just gone on from there. My first rugs were really quite large. I'm kind of a person that if I'm going to do something, I'll just bite the bullet and make something that I can use. And so I made a couple of table runners and some floor mats. In my house here, I don't know if I'll be able to show you. It's
yeah. We might end up on the floor. Okay, don't mess with the system that's working, but paint us a picture.
But I've got 3 1.3 meter rugs by 0.6 on the floor, and they're all about yay thick, whites with little bits of natural colours in them. And I've got those ones have all been washed, and I've had them on the floor now for over a year, and I just take them outside, give them a jolly good shaking. And if they get mummied on by the dogs, as they do from time to time when you have elderly animals, I just take them outside and give them a hose off, you know, hang them up over the railings, and they dry out really, really well. Probably actually quicker and better than what commercial rugs would, you know. It's just... And if they do get holes in them or a string breaks or something, hey, I'm just going to put them outside on the garden paths, you know, like all the grass where the grass grows and I don't want it to grow, and use them as, you know, as like a weed mat on the garden. So they're completely environmentally friendly. Wool's always here, you know, like there's wool everywhere. Little lifestyle farmers have got more wool than they know what to do with, and most times they've got more than they want underneath their fruit trees. And so for me, it's about bringing awareness to semi-rural people, and even, you know, people in the urban areas who want to start learning how to do craft, that kind of craft again, to put wall panel, you know, like make a big wall panel and put on their house to give themselves something really nice to look at aesthetically, but also something that will keep their home warm, you know, like a lot warmer. We've noticed that since having all the big rugs on the floors in here, our place is so much warmer, and we've got huge windows in our place, you know, and it's just a godsend. The only thing it costs you is your time, you know, really. And if you're going to pick up wool from the farm or something, then it's just, you know, your petrol. But yeah, what a great thing to have dropped into my lap, really.
I know that feeling.
Because, you know, it's kind of like I was looking for something to be able to, and for years I've set up my own business with the Alchemists Den. That started off as, I started out as a flower essence practitioner for alternative health, and that is not enough in itself to sustain me. And so then I started making apple cider vinegars and making my own soaps really naturally and using herbs from the gardens. And then I started making balms, all out of my own need to be able to, you know, like to provide for my home. And then it was like, okay, well, I'm going to make these and sell them. And and that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years, actually longer. I've been doing markets for probably about 15 years now. And bringing in this wool has actually made my shop expand. It's allowed me to do more courses and classes, and it's been, you know, I love it for the fact that I can actually help other people make their homes much, much, much more comfy, you know, and safe without having synthetic fibres in their home, which we all know are fire accelerants and, you know, all of those kinds of things. And they stink if they get, you know, like something like dog pee or something on it. You've basically got to throw it out. You can't recycle it.
Yeah.
You know, the smell just is, it's there and you can't get rid of it. Whereas wool's really forgiving and it helps to neutralise odours in your home. Keeps the mites and things down, you know, especially if it's got lanolin in it, in the wool. And yeah, I can't really say a bad word about it, really.
Oh, that's fantastic. And isn't it always interesting when you set out to solve a problem that you're having for yourself, you're never the only person with
Yeah,
that
exactly.
issue. Yeah, I think it's always interesting how the journey pans out, things that you never anticipated, and then all of a sudden you're in this entirely different world that you
Yeah,
never thought you'd
totally,
be in.
totally. Yeah, and the number of, like, it's interesting when I'm like at, say, the Puhoi market. I meet such beautiful people, honestly, salt of the earth people, and they come along and they've got their big bags of wool and they go, "Here, Andrina, I bought you this valet fleece. It's not very flash, but I'm sure you can do something gorgeous with it."
That's awesome.
So I make beautiful things like little cushion covers for seats. I'm actually sitting on one that I made at Wool Revolution. It was meant to be a wall hanging, but I've
Reallocated it.
since been sitting on it, so it's got all matted. And this is one of the ones that I made as a test piece to see if I could use, all those loose ends,
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff that gets mangled and knotted, and it would take hours and hours to try and unravel it. And I just twisted it as I went, and it's actually bound together, so I'm quite surprised about it. It's a success.
That's a win. And then it's interesting, like, when the things that, a mangled mess, that's a mistake, and you've turned it into something usable. Have you got any other memorable favourite mistakes?
Oh yeah, I've got quite a few. Yeah, I have. I'll actually, excuse me for one moment.
Oh, we'll keep it real.
So this is an Arapawa fleece, right? This is a rare breed New Zealand, and this was a ram, and it came to me in a bag. It's really big, like, and I wanted to felt the back of it to make a vegan rug, but you can see that it's all migrated. I had to actually put some a matrix of thread through it as running stitch to actually hold the thing together. And when I, like as I'm finding out now, Arapawa is not the best fleece to try and use for felting, but it's such an unusual piece that it's just so gorgeous. But of course, like it's not very structurally sound. So that's one. And the other one that I did was a Arapawa as well, and it was an Arapawa. I hand spun it, so it was about the yarn was probably about that thick.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd washed it all. No, I hadn't washed it, and then I mixed it with a wheel spun rope of Romney and white Leicester and Suffolk, all those kinds of things that just they're wool from local farmers. And I put the two together, and I went and I washed it, and I went, ooh.
Oh no.
Oh no, it basically fell apart. Because the Arapawa wasn't hand twisted strong enough. So I ended up plying it with the white rope yarn, and that turned out really well. And a family friend of ours got given that as a thank you birthday, thank you present, and he just absolutely loves it. It's super fat, and he's got it on his concrete floor beside his bed. Yeah, just loves it. Yeah, and so even a mistake, I just, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else. I'm loath to throw anything away. I'm far more happy just to pull all the warp strings out and start again, and it's, it's really interesting. And I've got a little, got given a really elderly 4-shaft loom, a little table loom, which I've got down in the cottage, and it's rusty and all that sort of stuff. So that's one of my next projects, along with some spinning wheel repairs, is to get that going and actually make some table runners and seat pads and things with that, so that I have a variety of different textures and plushness and all that kind of stuff as part of my shop.
Nice. Nice. And maybe because you would have worked with quite a few different fleeces, which is
Yeah.
your favourite breed
Oh,
fibre? Do you have one?
I can give you an idea of what I've discovered about some of them.
Oh, no. Yep, knowledge me.
Yeah. So I don't really have a favourite. I'm learning which is my favourite,
Fair.
kind of, yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yes. Valet is interesting. It's very long and very robust. Can cut your hand if
Oh,
you're
wow.
spinning it. Yeah, if you're spinning it and letting it like slide through your fingers. It's a great fleece for making like a yarn or a warp. Like if you wanted to make a warp, it'd be fantastic for using for like fabric weaving.
Wow.
To do that kind of stuff. That's in my experience, and I'm not very experienced, so I might be talking through a hole in my hat.
All right, this is your learning lessons.
Yeah,
May
but
change as you discover more.
yeah, I've actually found that it's a really strong fibre to use to make, as a spin. Opposite to that is arapawa, and it takes a lot to actually try and spin that if you want to spin it so that it's usable for garments and things like that. It's quite difficult. But to spin it as a rope, it's actually fairly robust and nice and springy and stretchy.
Ah,
Yeah. And so a lot of the rare breeds, the air-filled fibres, which are arapawa, Pip Island, I've just done the show and I can't remember them. My brain got full
you've done
way.
the information.
So a lot of the rare breeds are actually air-filled fibres, and they're very stretchy, so they hail back to the Saxony Merinos, and they're fine and they're stretchy, they're oily, great for garments, outer garments, ones that you can knit loosely and they'll hold the heat. The next animal breed that I really am quite fond of is the Gotland Perendale mix that I get from Chocolate Walls down in Dunedin. They send me out some beautiful fleece, and they send me out some really terrible fleece too that other people go, oh God, what are you doing with that? I think you might have seen one that I was tearing through the valleys on, like when they cut the fleece off the animal, it's already pre-felted on the back, and sometimes it's so pre-felted that it's really difficult for them to shear them. And so when you pull the fleece, it has all these valleys in between how the fleece lays on the sheep, and so I tear through those valleys, and then I twist and weave that length onto my loom, and then I'll do it again, and just keep going, and I end up with big tufts of locks and felt, and it's different on both sides, or it might be, like they come through uneven or things like that, and then chuck it in a hot wash and soak it, and they just come out so vibrant and so fluffy and so soft. It's just like, oh, I just want to sleep on that. And the more that you're actually using those kinds of fleece that's already been started to felt on the animal, it's just going to continue to felt as it's being used, and so therefore you're going to be ending up with a fibre or a fabric that you can then maybe create into something else further down the track. When you finished using it, when its purpose is no longer suitable for what it was originally designed for, then it could be used for making, I don't know, a refrigeration bag liner, or something like that, because it'll keep things cool or keep things warm. And it's kind of like nothing really will get wasted,
I like that so much because it's there's so many nifty ways to find sustainability where you didn't think it might be.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so great that you can find that you're finding a use for a lot of fibres that maybe aren't the favourite of others. Because I mean, I'm as a knitter, I'm not a spinner or a weaver apart from my little 6 week stint as a peg loomer.
Yeah.
um, but you know, I'm knitting with like merino and the luxury fibres, so it's so fascinating to me that there's a whole way forward for all the other fibres that maybe aren't quite as soft, but they've got such great functionality.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. You know, you can felt fibers into blankets and all kinds of things. You know, even just little squares like we were doing with Liz. You know, the little felted squares. You can actually stitch all those together and make really purposeful blankets. You know.
Yes, I think maybe that would be the best way because, oh my goodness, I did not enjoy the felting process, I have to admit. That was too slow and painful for me. But I mean, that aside, it may have also been that I hadn't prepped it right or structured it right to be for the best felting experience. So that's on me. Terrible.
Yeah. There's different environments to learn felting, and you can. I prefer to learn the full hands-on process, like tearing, you know, pulling the lock and letting it breathe and all the dirt dropping out of it, and then laying it down in the filigree, you know, laying the matrix down that way and then laying it that way, and just breaking apart all the wool myself rather than combing it or doing anything like that. So it's a full-on hands-on process. It's like, I don't know, there must be something in my psyche that's taking me back from a past life or something, and I like to do everything the hard way. You know?
Oh no, I mean it's just a different like a different hobby, right? It's you know, like I mean I wish I was more into gardening, but I kill plants, but I appreciate gardening. I'm trying to at least weed, but it's you know it is that getting in and getting your hands dirty, and not everyone enjoys that.
No, no, no.
But it is
I,
satisfying doing it from like when you're doing something from absolute scratch, like baking. Like you know you
yeah,
can buy cookies or you can bake cookies,
yeah,
and
that's true. Yeah,
it's when you're making your own, you know, it's just that extra layer of satisfaction from doing it yourself, really doing it yourself.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. And as I say, and it's kind of like when you're sitting down eating it, it's like, wow, I made that, and it tastes so good. You know?
mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and in this case, I guess it feels so good. The
Yeah,
finished
it
item.
is, and it's kind of like I did have a thing at the beginning where I didn't really want to sell my rags. I was kind of coveting them and hoping no one would buy them. But I've decided that, you know, like I make them and I put the love into them and I put all my, you know, my mahi into them. They're all washed. They're all safe. It's the ones that are being sold as washed. Um, and and just let them fly and let them go out. You know, that some of them aren't expensive. You know, I look at them and I go, okay, I if I sold them for what I put into them, people would not be able to buy them. It's just like you know, you're knitting. If somebody said to you, and I think I've heard you say this, if someone asked me if I can knit them a jumper, it's like, okay, do you want to take a mortgage out?
Mm.
Yeah, because there's a lot of work goes into it. You know, like you've got to get the right wool. You've got to make sure you've got the right tension. So you've got to knit a swatch. You've got to make sure that the wool's compatible with the pattern and all of that kind of stuff. Plus, you've got to find the time to do it. And then you've got to, you know, as you're knitting it, you've got to make sure you haven't dropped a stitch somewhere or put one around the wrong way or got too many. And then you have to you know, like sometimes I've watched my mum knit. I don't knit. She pulls things right apart and starts again, and I'm going, oh god.
I had to do that the other day. I made a lovely beanie for my dad out of a possum blend, some possum based yarn, and I just even though I can knit in the round, I still knit this one in the flat because I didn't have DPNs at the time. So I just made it the way I knew how. And this one just ended up warping largely. So it just was like he had a mushroom hat on. So the beanie ended up with me, and I thought, oh, I can just add another seam and fix it that way. But then when I came across it and I sat down and I was ready to do it and I kept looking at it, and the more I stared at it, the more I realized that I couldn't fix it. I needed to start again. So
Yeah.
so one Friday night I just sat there slowly unpicking. I had to get a crochet hook to slowly dig where I'd woven the ends back in.
Yeah.
Um, so then I had these three little balls of deconstructed beanie. And then I made it. Then I was like, okay, right. We now know how to knit the round. I've acquired some DPNs, and we're gonna knit this, re-knit this beanie. Fortunately, I took it to my parents' house for dinner to work on it whilst I was there, and I happened to be like, oh, well, whilst I'm here, I better check that it's not going to warp too big. Of course, it did. So I was about 10 centimeters in of a 1x1 rib, which for crafters will know that's slow knitting, 1x1. And no, so I ended up having to rib it back again and starting again minus 12 stitches. But now Dad has a beanie that snugly fits on his head, that has a brim that will roll over his ears, and even though I couldn't promise the little bobbly bit that he liked, which the bobble on the old beanie is because I made a mistake and didn't crown it correctly, but he liked it. But fortunately, he's got a baby bobble. I don't know. I mean, personally, I prefer the smooth finish, but he likes the bobble, and he got the bobble unanticipated. Oh, are we getting a cameo? Oh, she's here with me. Are you fair warning? You'll be on YouTube briefly. Hi, Mum. Kia ora. Nice to meet you. My mum meets the public too. All right. Well, in that case, that's the end of our session. So, thanks, Mum, for being patient, and thanks, Andrina, for tuning in and joining us from West Auckland, talking to me from Hunua, South Auckland. So, connected through the interwebs. I will drop links for Andrina's website and things. So if you want to find out more about Andrina, you can. And have a wonderful Textile Tuesday. Thank you. Likewise. All right. Well, you have a fair day. Thanks, team. Bye.